Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister said repeatedly that he had no knowledge of funds from the dictatorship in Beijing going to federal election candidates. Today we learned that is not true. His department prepared a briefing that said a large clandestine transfer of funds earmarked for the federal election from the PRC in Toronto was transferred to an elected provincial government official via a staff member of a 2019 federal candidate. Why did the Prime Minister say the opposite of what he knew to be true?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The issue of foreign interference in our democracies and our institutions is extraordinarily serious, and that's why, as a government, we have always taken it incredibly seriously, including by building and creating new mechanisms to oversee and to ensure that we can counter that interference and demonstrate to Canadians that they can have confidence in their institutions. But on the specific question, as both myself and the NSIA stated last fall, we have no information on any federal candidates receiving money from China, and that continues to remain the case.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, that is impossible, because not only did his own department prepare a briefing for him, which said that candidates had received funds, so did his own security committee, which said, and I'm quoting now from Global News, Global News also learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. That so-called bipartisan panel is the Prime Minister's secret committee. They report to him. He knew. Why did he say the opposite of what he knew?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As I said last fall, as the National Security and Intelligence Advisor stated, we have no information on federal candidates receiving money from China. That continues to be the case. In regards to the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to correct the honourable member and highlight that committee actually publishes reports to Parliament and to the public. That is something that is very, very clear. It's a committee of parliamentarians that get top secret clearance so they can look at everything our intelligence committees do and then report back to our Parliament.
Well, Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister stated another falsehood. He said it reports to public. Many of its findings are not reported to public. And second, Section 21 of the Act that creates that committee states that its reports go to the Prime Minister. They have to go to the Prime Minister, and he is the one that decides what becomes public thereafter. Therefore, he knew when that committee reported that candidates received money directed by the dictatorship in Beijing, and yet he has been and continues to say exactly the opposite. Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, parliamentarians can now go to the Library of Parliament or go online and see reports from the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians that were released publicly to them. The National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, which the previous Conservative government opposed as an oversight body, actually allows parliamentarians to attain those top secret clearance levels to look into everything our intelligence agencies do and report back to Parliament, to me, to Canadians on how that's working.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Section 21 of the Act that creates that secret committee says, and I quote, each year the committee must submit to the Prime Minister a report of the reviews it conducted during the preceding years. In other words, he did receive the report. He should stop playing word games. Nobody needs to go to the library. What we need to do is get to the truth. The Prime Minister knew that his own security committee said Beijing had directed funds to candidates in preceding elections, and yet he continues to say exactly the opposite. Is he saying that the committee is lying?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I'm happy to clear up the confusion around what the committee reports. Yes, the committee reports to me and to the government, but it also reports to parliamentarians and shares those reports. So this is the way many committees function in our government, and will continue to. In regards to the issue of whether federal candidates received money from China, as I've stated many times, we have no information on that.
Leader of the Opposition.
We all agree the Prime Minister has seen the report. Well, this is what Global News says of the report. Global News has learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. China gave money to its preferred candidates. The Prime Minister admits that the committee reported to him on this fact. Why does he continue to state the diametric opposite of the truth in his answers in this House of Commons?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all understand how important it is that Canadians can have both confidence in our government's ability to counter foreign interference and confidence in the transparency and openness with which that happens. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, beyond the partisan to and fro that we necessarily see in this House, it is important to create an independent, unimpeachable special rapporteur who is going to be able to oversee the entire landscape around national security to make sure that the committees are doing their work, that the various bodies keep Canada safe.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, it's not just up to the NDP to protect our election system or the Bloc Québécois or the Conservatives, and clearly not the Liberals. It's all of us who are responsible for protecting our system. The Prime Minister seems to not understand that the integrity of our democracy is threatened. We should all feel involved in finding a solution. All the parties are asking for a public and independent public inquiry. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to implement that? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, on the contrary, I am not refusing to implement that review. I know that Canadians need to be able to trust our democracy and our electoral system. And that is why I will be asking a special rapporteur to be appointed so that they can reassure Canadians outside of party lines that everything is being done right, and also to issue recommendations if necessary. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, whatever the Prime Minister says, the electoral system doesn't belong to him and his party. This is not a liberal issue. This is a democratic issue. No one should have any doubt about the fact that everyone in this House has been elected legitimately without interference or trickery. And that means that we can't have secret meetings and special rapporteurs chosen by the Prime Minister. Why is the Prime Minister refusing to create a public and independent inquiry, which is what everyone is asking for? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the majority of what my...
J'ai vu qu'il applaudissait assez le Premier ministre que je vais le...
Well, the Prime Minister got so much applause that I'm going to let him start over. Mr. Speaker, in this House, we all agree about the fact that it's crucial to protect our electoral system and its institutions beyond partisanship. And that is why we will be choosing an independent figure to ensure that the mechanisms brought forward are right. Yes, we've heard from some experts who said that an inquiry is the right thing to do, but others have said that it's not the best way to move forward. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think that letting an independent special rapporteur, an expert, decide on this, I think that's the right decision for all of us. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Every day, Canadians' confidence in our electoral system is being eroded. Recent reports indicate that at least 2 times the Prime Minister was advised that Chinese government officials transferred money to Canadian political candidates. This is serious, and Canadians start to wonder why it seems like the Prime Minister is hiding something. So why does the Prime Minister just launch a public inquiry and answer all those questions and give confidence to Canadians in our democracy?
Here, here. Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy, first of all, to repeat that we have no information on federal candidates receiving money from China. But at the same time, Canadians are concerned about these various reports and allegations because there is ongoing attempts at interference by China and other countries, which is why we are putting forward an independent expert to look at the entire landscape around foreign interference and the tools we have and make a determination about how we can not just ensure that everything's being done to protect Canadians and democracy, but give Canadians confidence that everything will continue to be done.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Seems like the Minister is more interested in protecting himself than protecting the electoral system. Parce que chaque jour, on a des nouvelles.
Every day, we are finding out more and more allegations of foreign interference. It's undermining the confidence of the public. People are wondering why this secrecy. So why won't the Prime Minister launch a public inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, some experts are saying that we need a public inquiry and that it could find answers, but other very credible experts are also saying that a public inquiry would not be able to find the answers that will help Canadians regain trust. We know that Canadians need to trust that the right mechanisms are put in place, and that's why we're asking an independent expert to look into the situation and to bring forward the right mechanisms, whether it be a public inquiry, a legal process, or something else.